So I've been living in Dubai as an entrepreneur for almost 3 years, and over that same period, Bali has essentially become like my second home, where I come in the summer to escape the heat of Dubai and also essentially live here for parts of the year. So now that I've spent extensive time in both of these places as an entrepreneur, I wanted to give a detailed comparison of Dubai versus Bali from the perspective of an entrepreneur. Which one is better? Which one might be right for what kind of person? What are the pros and cons of each place? And of course, this is all going to depend. These are very different places that are suitable for very different goals, very different kinds of people, and there is no right or wrong choice here. But I hope that this video can at least give you an idea of what these differences are, so that you can compare them to your particular goals, your particular preferences, and make the right choice for you. So I roughly divided this video into business and finances and lifestyle considerations. But before we get into either of these, let's first just briefly touch on their residency option and how can you actually go to one of these places. Now, both of these places are going to have excellent visa options. I've made detailed videos on both all the residency options in Dubai as well as in Bali. The difference here is that Dubai is gonna be more suitable from an entrepreneur standpoint, simply because of the fact that you can set up your business there, you can get your banking there, you can get your residency visa there, which also gets you access to a 0% tax residence as long as you spend at least 3 months there. Whereas in Bali, it's a bit more tricky because you probably don't want to have your business there. You can get okay banking there. The banking there is quite reasonable. In fact, I have a non-resident account in Indonesia, and I think it's even better than the ones I have in Dubai. But in many cases, what might make most sense is that you set up your business somewhere else. It could be the UAE, like for example, my setup. I have my main residence in Dubai. I spend like half the year there, and then I use the same business and run it from Bali in the summer or whatever place I'm in. That can work really well. What I would often recommend is that you set up something like a US LLC. Many videos on the channel about that. I will also leave links down below if you want to set one up, or a Hong Kong company that's going to be very popular in many cases. And then you just get one of the many visa and residence permits options in Indonesia. One thing to note in Indonesia though is that tax residence there is determined by either spending 6 months there or having a residence permit there. So in the case of Indonesia, even if you don't spend more than 6 months in the country, but you hold a residence permit there, that actually makes you a tax resident. So you want to consider this when you are choosing the type of visa you're going to get, because if you don't want to live in more than 6 months in Indonesia, there's many other visa options that are not residence permits. So they're not like a kitas, which is what they call a residence permit, which will not make you taxable. So you might want to use one of these types of visa. The C1 visa is going to be a great option. That's the one that I'm on right now. It's essentially like the digital nomad visa, valid up to 180 days. Or they have what's called the D12 pre-investment visa, which is going to be valid for 2 years, allowing you to stay up to 180 days in any given entry. However, if you do want to live there and you would stay over the 6 months anyway and therefore become a tax resident, they have what's called the remote worker kitas, which is a proper residence permit where you need to show income of $60,000 a year. I will leave links to all of these visas down below, and if you want to set up in Dubai, I'll also leave a link to a free consultation with my team, with whom we have helped more than 700 people set up in Dubai. We can set up your company there, get your visa there, everything you need to set up there, to live there full-time or part-time, or not even spend any time there if you don't want to. So now that that is covered, let's first talk about the business and financial side. And here again, both of these places can be great for running a business. Obviously, the benefit of running an online business, a remote business, is that you can run it from anywhere. However, if we're strictly comparing these two places, Dubai is going to win very easily. And I'm now going to explain why. The simple reason is that it's simply more developed and more built for making money and building a business. It's one of the freest economies in the world. It's a place that's growing super fast, that's really focusing on attracting wealthy people, attracting entrepreneurs, and really valuing people who make a lot of money. So I'm not going to give you more specific points to explain that. The first of them is going to be simply infrastructure. Even basic things like internet speeds can be a lot more choppy in Bali, depending on where you stay. In this particular villa where I'm staying, they're pretty good, but in the previous villa I stayed, the internet was simply awful, which was make doing work quite difficult sometimes. Now, the way to get around this, if you live here longer term, you can get Starlink. So Elon Musk's company, it does operate here, so you can use that to essentially always have great internet. So again, there's ways to get around this, but if we're strictly comparing them, Dubai is going to win in terms of infrastructure because it's just a more developed place. It's obviously a big city, anything you want in terms of convenience as well. And apologies, it was getting so bright outside that I saw that it was blowing out the background, so I've closed the curtain, so we're in a bit of a darker environment for the rest of the video. But the next point is obviously going to be taxes. Dubai is simply like the best place in the world in terms of taxes, not just because they are low, but because they're easy. It's just very simple. 0% tax on your personal income, your capital gains, and then also on your business. If you're below the small business threshold, if you're above the small business threshold, it's going to be 9%, which is still like the lowest you'll get pretty much anywhere. Whereas Indonesia is simply not a tax-friendly place. Like even comparing in the region, places like Thailand and Malaysia and Singapore are going to have territorial taxes. Indonesia doesn't. Indonesia has worldwide taxes. The tax residency criteria are also more subjective, like Western countries. Like I just mentioned previously, even if you just hold a residence permit, that actually makes you a tax resident, which is something that most people don't realize. And this is very important because as soon as you make a decent amount of money as an entrepreneur, despite of the lower cost of living in Bali, because of the taxes, living in Bali is actually going to be more expensive. And the next point is going to be networking. I've said this before in previous videos, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way, by the way, but the people who generally gravitate to Bali are going to be on a slightly lower income. They're going to be slightly less serious about building a big business, which by the way is absolutely fair enough. Like if that's your preference, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm also not someone who's trying to become a billionaire or something like that, so I'm not saying everyone has to be trying to build a big business, but if you are very serious about business, you're probably gonna find more people that are more similar to you in Dubai, because it tends to attract more serious entrepreneurs, people who are building bigger things and things like that, which is in turn gonna push you forward when you network with them and things like that. Two of my main income sources, like the main businesses I'm involved in, would not exist without people that I met in Dubai. Now sure, I could have met similar people in Bali, but it would probably be less likely, and generally the people who you meet in Bali are gonna be more focused on lifestyle, because Bali, as we'll learn in a moment, is more of a lifestyle play, not a business play. While again, of course, there's people who make money in Bali. You can make a lot of money in Bali. Not say you can't do that, but again, strictly comparing these two places, you're gonna have more higher level networking in Dubai versus Bali. But now talking about lifestyle, and this is where again these places are going to differ. And whereas the finances and business side was more objective, this part is going to be obviously more subjective. It's really just going to depend on which vibe you prefer, because these places have very contrasting vibes. Dubai obviously is going to be a big city. It's going to be a very hustle based culture. Everyone is there to make money. It's a very busy place, so if you like that super high energy, like the New York City kind of energy, although it's a very different place from New York City, you're gonna prefer Dubai. Whereas if you prefer a more relaxed lifestyle, you want to spend time at the beach, you want to surf, a culture that's a lot more relaxed, people are a lot more smiley, you're going to prefer Bali. Me personally, like I've said in many videos, I like both of them for different reasons, which is why these two are such a great mix for me personally. I can have Dubai as my business home, the place where I go to really level up, to move forward in life, but when I feel like relaxing a bit, taking a bit of like an extended vacation. But to describe the lifestyle a bit more, in Bali, the difference is that it's a collection of villages. It's not a city. You're most likely going around in a scooter, which I very much enjoy. Like it's very relaxing actually, unless you're stuck in traffic, which does happen quite a lot of the time. Whereas in Dubai, it's obviously a big city, mainly built around highways, so you're going to be sitting in cars most of the time. I feel like in Bali, getting around is a bit easier and a bit faster. Things are a bit closer. Now, obviously, Bali is very massive, but I'm talking about if you live in an area like Canggu, Barava, something like that, like getting to restaurants, things like that, is usually going to be quite close. Whereas in Dubai, again, if you live in Marina, like within Marina, like you have everything you need. But I find I'm sitting longer times in traffic, which can make life there more stressful compared to Bali. It's only when traffic is really bad in Bali that you can get very stuck, which is obviously going to make it more stressful as well. Bali is going to have a more of a health/gym scene. I think to me, Bali has probably the best gyms out of any place I've gone to. They have a ton of healthy food. It's a really health focused culture. Dubai is as well, but for example, on a practical side, a lot of the nice gyms there are going to be a bit harder to get to. They aren't in the main areas where you're probably going to want to live, which means that you might have to drive 25 minutes if you want to be in a really nice gym or something like that. Again, depending on where you live. So I find it easier for me to access a healthy, nice lifestyle in Bali compared to Dubai. Although again, it's going to be be easy in both places. If you like nature, obviously Bali is going to have more to offer. You have waterfalls, you have like all these amazing nature things that you can go do. Whereas in Dubai, the activities you'll do are going to be more man-made. Like you have museums, you're going to have the desert that you can go to, like these kind of man-made activities. Again, nothing wrong with that. Like I don't really get the criticism of like, oh, Dubai is man-made. I mean, most things like in the world, if you're in a city, it's going to be man-made. I don't really have an issue with that, but that's just a difference that you might want to consider. So in conclusion, what I might say is that if you're young, you're in the phase of life of just focusing on work, you just want to get rich as fast as possible, Dubai is just going to be more suited for you. But let's say you've already made it, or you just don't care that much about getting rich as fast as possible, and you want to live a relaxed lifestyle, you want to live that like happy, healthy life, then Bali is probably going to be more for you. Or you could do what I am doing, which is often what I recommend on this channel, is that you don't have to choose one place. If you like both, if you're watching this video and you're choosing between the two, there's no reason why you have to choose one place. Go set up in Dubai, go set up your business there, get your residency there, get your banking there, get your tax residence there by spending at least 3 months there, and then spend less than 6 months in Bali on the C1 visa or the D12 visa. You don't become a tax resident, and you get to enjoy both the networking when you are in Dubai, the taxes there, the business benefits, the financial benefits, as well as the lifestyle for part of the year. Because certainly to enjoy the perks of Dubai, you don't have to be there all year. And these two places also work really well in tandem because of climates. So Dubai is going to be optimal in the winter months, whereas it's just very hot in the summer. So many people don't want to be there in the summer. Whereas in Bali, the time when you want to be in Bali is actually in the summer months, because that is when Bali has the dry season, whereas it has the wet season in the winter. So you can live the winters in Dubai, the summers in Bali, and that works quite well, at least for me personally. Again, if you want help setting up your business, your residency in the UAE, we'll be happy to help you. We've helped more than 700 people create this setup, and if you're interested, you can book a free consultation down below in the description. However, if you're looking to set up in Bali, I will leave links to the visas that I mentioned down below. And with that said, if you want a more detailed comparison of the cost of living of these places, I actually compared both of them, again, after spending time in both places. So in this video right here, I compared the cost of living in Dubai versus Bali. So watch that video next if you're interested, and I will see you in the next one.